Audiobook Academy. Book Summary. The Glass Menagerie. By of Tennessee Williams. Tennessee Williams wrote The Glass Menagerie in 1944, and it is one of his most famous works. The play was hailed as a triumph by critics because it was Williams' first major hit. To define the peculiar format of The Glass Menagerie, Williams developed the term memory play in honor of the play, which was meant to be based on the main character and narrator's story if it was viewed through the slightly warped glass of his own memory. In 1945, the play received the New York Drama Critics Circle Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Theater. This is the narrative of Tom Wingfield, a young St. Louis poet who dreams of becoming a published author. For the sake of his mother and sister, both of whom are unable to work, Tom works in a shoe factory. To Amanda, Tom's mother, finding a wealthy husband is the only way for her shy, physically disabled daughter to achieve happiness. She embarks on a mission to locate her daughter a suitable spouse. A co-worker called Jim O'Connor, whom Tom had met at work, promises to assist Tom in finding her a husband. Tom's sister Laura, who they both knew in high school, confesses to having a crush on Jim. It turns out that she still has feelings for him. As the two of them share a passionate kiss, Jim makes the shocking revelation that he can't continue their romance because he already has a fiancée. Angry at Tom for not recognizing Jim and Amanda were engaged before he left, Amanda lashes out at him. Amanda is comforting Laura as Tom apologizes and departs the room. Forgiving Laura was never an option for him, so he walked away from his family. But he still has feelings of shame for how Laura was treated. The play's narrator, Tom Wingfield, is a shoe factory employee and aspiring poet who was introduced at the opening of the play. It is Tom's voice that is heard throughout this novel. In the late 1930s, Tom shares an apartment with his mother, Amanda, and sister, Laura, in a middle-class neighborhood of St. Louis. Tom tells the audience a little bit about the economic situation in St. Louis following the Great Depression. He also tells us a little bit about his family. Tom's father had already abandoned the family several years prior. He does not appear in the play, and the family has only received one postcard from a Mexican town. After Tom has entered the flat, his mother and sister begin to eat dinner. We learn a lot about Amanda and Laura's personalities and motivations through the course of the meal. When Amanda isn't pacing the room, she's yelling at Tom to chew his food properly and urging Laura to stay still in case a gentleman happens to be calling. As a young woman, she once hosted 17 different gentleman callers to her house, and she tells a long, apparently often repeated anecdote about it. We learn that Amanda grew up in Blue Mountain, Mississippi, a posh, upper-class suburb. There are no gentleman callers for Laura anyway, so her mother reminds her. She's afraid her mother will believe she'll be a lonely old maid when she's gone. Laura is polishing a collection of glass animal miniatures as her mother walks into the flat. Laura hides the charts and pretends to be studying as she hears Amanda approaching. There was a problem with Laura's attendance at the business school where she is enrolled, Amanda tells her. When confronted, Laura says that she has been skipping class since the first few days of school because of episodes of fear and illness. She says she's spent her days wandering the streets and visiting the zoological gardens of her city of residence. It's upsetting to think about what will happen to the family now that she doesn't have a professional career to fall back on. When Laura refuses to be married, she declares that her only option is to get married herself. Laura is the first to acknowledge that she had harbored feelings for a boy named Jim while they were both still in school. She tells Jim a story about her absence from school owing to an episode with pleurosis that she shared with him. Her nickname, Blue Roses, came about because Jim misinterpreted the disease's name. Laura, on the other hand, claims that Jim was already engaged when she graduated high school, and that he is most likely married at this point. Amanda is adamant that Laura find a husband. According to Laura, her shortness in one limb makes her unable to walk normally. Amanda is enraged and orders her daughter to stop referring to herself in such a negative light and to work on her charm. Laura's admission to dropping out of college is referred to by Tom as the debacle, and as a result, their mother became preoccupied with finding her a wealthy spouse. The Homemaker's Companion magazine hired Amanda to collect telephone subscriptions, which Tom says she did to make a little extra money and attract suitors. When Amanda enters the flat and attempts to sell something but fails, he says this. Soon after that, we see Tom and Amanda bickering about the lack of privacy in their home. A book Tom was reading by D.H. Lawrence is particularly upsetting to Tom because his mother returned it to the library without his permission without informing him. She says she doesn't want filth like that in her house. His mother disagrees. When Tom points out that he's responsible for renting out the unit, He walks out of the building to try to end the dispute. Nevertheless, Amanda halts him, insisting that she be heard. In her opinion, he has a negative attitude due to the fact that he spends every night out and is putting his work at risk because of it. While out, she fears the worst, but Tom tells her that he simply attends the movies. A furious Tom slams the factory, claiming he hates it, wishes he were dead and goes to work every day in order to earn money. To him, all of his hopes and goals were abandoned long ago, as his mother thinks he would have done years earlier had he been that self-centered. Amanda interrogates Tom as he prepares to depart once more, demanding to know where he intends to go. When she doesn't believe him, he sarcastically admits that he's going to hang out with criminals and go to an opium den instead. Finally, he calls his mother an ugly talking old witch and storms off. His coat is difficult to put on while he's hypervigilant, and he knocks over Laura's animal figurine collection. A piece of broken glass jolts Laura to action. Amanda refuses to speak to Tom unless he apologizes to her and ignores her daughter. Tom bends over and picks up the broken figurines with his bare hands. He looks over at his sister as though he wishes he could say something helpful or apologetic, but he doesn't say anything either. Tom arrives home later that night after a late-night drinking binge. He drops his key in the gaps of the fire escape after battling with it. In the end, he was saved by his sister, who was able to open the door. He tells her he went to the cinema all night and to a magic show, and she believes him. He conjures up a fantastic tale about a water-to-whiskey magician before handing Laura a multicolored scarf that he claims was given to him by the magician. Describes the magician's trick where he nails himself inside a coffin and then escapes without any nails being removed. Tom, intoxicated, says he'd like to learn the method in case it ever comes in handy, but he has no idea how someone could remove a single nail from a coffin to do so. On the wall above, a portrait of their father shines as if to suggest that this was his final act before he left them. The next morning, Amanda awakens Laura and urges her to wake their brother because she hasn't spoken to him in a few hours. Laura agrees and asks Tom to make amends with Amanda in order to maintain harmony in the home. Tom's reluctance to comply remains. Laura is shortly sent out to get groceries by Amanda. Laura stumbles and falls on her way out, but she is fortunately uninjured. Tom apologizes to his mother and Amanda breaks down in tears. Laura and he are her pride and joy, she tells him, and she pleads with him not to follow in his father's footsteps. In response, she informs Tom that she has caught Laura in tears because she believes that Tom is uncomfortable living with them and that he only leaves the house at night to escape their constant presence. Her concern is about Tom going out late at night and becoming like his father, Amanda tells Tom. She understands his desire to leave the shoe factory, but she is concerned about his becoming like his father. To her astonishment, Tom repeated that he goes to the movies every night because he craves the excitement of a film that is so lacking in his daily life. Amanda thinks that this is a foolish thing for a Christian adult to be concerned about. Amanda tries to discourage Tom from going to work by expressing her concern for Laura's future. Tom agrees to stay. She admits that she only enrolled Laura in business school in the hopes that it would help her come out of her shell, and that she often takes her to Young People's League meetings at church because she hoped it would do the same for her. However, neither of these approaches has worked. Laura is still shy with people outside of her immediate family and prefers to spend her free time with her collection of glass animals and vintage records. Tom has received a letter from the Merchant Marines requesting him to enroll, and he's ready to depart, but Laura must first be taken care of before he can leave. Finally getting to the point, she asks Tom to bring home a respectable man from work to meet his sister. His agreement is hesitantly accepted. The next sight tells us that spring has finally arrived after a long winter. Clearing the table after supper is Amanda and Laura's job today. Tom reminisces about the neighborhood where he grew up, recalling the times he spent there as a child. Music from a nearby dance club could be heard from his flat on nice nights, he explains. In addition, he claims that the chandeliers in the halls could be seen through the windows of his family's home, and that young lovers would kiss in the alleyway. As the country was prepared to enter World War II, he writes that this was how the young people enjoyed themselves, and that they would soon have no shortage of entertainment. Tom and Amanda appear to have reconciled outside. Make a wish on the moon for them all. Amanda wants her children to be happy and successful, but Tom refuses to reveal what he wishes for them. Laura will be visited by a young man from the factory the next day, Tom tells his mother. Amanda is overjoyed, but she is concerned that she won't have enough time to get ready. Tom is adamant that she not make a scene, but he simply cannot contain his delight. From the couch covers to the wallpaper, Amanda begins to fret about the plethora of things that need to be cleaned or changed in the flat. While doing so, she inquires about the gentleman caller while brushing Tom's hair. She expresses her concern that he will become an alcoholic since she does not want it to be his fate. Before presuming that Laura is going to marry him, Tom tells her to meet him. Jim O'Connor, a shipping clerk at the factory, is the man Tom has identified as Jim O'Connor. The fact that Jim is Irish and earns $85 a month is also revealed. Additionally, he is enrolled in a night school program for radio engineering and public speaking. Seeing all of these little tidbits makes Amanda happy. Tom tells her that Jim thinks he's coming over for a casual dinner invitation and not only to meet Laura, so he's a little wary about the situation. Amanda is confident that her daughter will make an impression on the man, and she says she is not worried about it. In an effort to keep his mother's expectations in check, Tom tells her that Laura may appear strange to those who don't know her since she lives in a dream world. Amanda, on the other hand, refuses to believe it and argues that Laura is odd in a good way. Amanda wonders where Tom is headed as he begins to walk away once more. His response is to tell her he's merely going to the movies. While Amanda is first apprehensive, she quickly returns to her exhilaration and tells Laura about the stranger. The following scene begins with Tom smoking a cigarette while resting against the fire escape. He returns to the stage and addresses the crowd once more, this time recalling his knowledge of Jim, the gentleman caller. Jim was a big success in high school and a popular student. He was an athlete, a vocalist, and a class leader. For whatever reason, he didn't live up to the expectations of everyone. Exactly 6 years later, Jim was working in the plant in a job that was just above Tom's position. The man claims that he and Jim are close friends and that Jim values him because he is aware of Jim's past success. When the factory work is dull, Jim has nicknamed him Shakespeare because of his tendency of sitting down to create poetry. The audience is shown the apartment's living area, which has been renovated by Amanda in the last 24 hours, as Tom wraps up his speech. As Laura adjusts her new clothing, she promises to enthrall Jim with her beauty. Despite her best efforts, the attention and hoopla overwhelm Laura. When Amanda returns, she wears a gaudy attire she claims to have worn at her cotillions in Mississippi. In her own words, she wore it to a slew of balls, including her own, and to greet her own male callers as well. Upon hearing Amanda mention Jim, Laura is taken aback to learn that he is the same Jim she had a crush on back in elementary school. She screams, "I'll never be able to dine with him again." Amanda dismisses her and gets to work in the kitchen, cooking up a storm. Laura begs her mother to answer the door, but she must eventually do so herself. Laura bows politely to Jim before vanishing to toy with the record player. If Jim is anything like Tom, he thinks it's cute when he tells him about his bashful sister. Jim and Tom begin to discuss work and Jim's classes as they eat their dinner. To Tom, a major change in his own life is in the works. He also claims that he used the money he saved from this month's electric bill to join the Merchant Marines, something he did not tell his mother about. Tom is adamant that he plans to follow in the footsteps of his father. Amanda walks in and smiles as she greets Jim. Then she tells a little story about her childhood suitors and unsuccessful marriage before praising Laura. However, Tom returns from the hospital with the news that Laura has declared that she is ill and does not wish to dine with the rest of the family. Seeing that Laura appears to be seriously ill when Amanda is on her own, Amanda instructs her daughter to take a break on the couch in the living room. In the dining room, Amanda, Tom, and Jim have dinner together. The power goes off after dinner is finished. Amanda thinks the storm outside is causing the fuses to blow, so she asks Jim to check them. Amanda asks Tom if he remembered to pay the energy bill, to which Tom replies that the fuses appear to be in order. She assumes that he must have forgotten because he acknowledges that he didn't. While she and Tom finish cleaning up, Amanda offers Jim a candle and a glass of wine and asks him to spend some time with Laura in the living room. During their conversation in the living room, Jim reminisces about their high school days with Laura. Then, when she reminds him of his affectionate nickname for her, he realizes he had forgotten. They start talking about their high school days. Laura recalls how she felt humiliated and uncomfortable in school because of her medical issue, and Jim reminds her that everyone has their share of difficulties. Laura finally has the confidence to approach him about the girl he was engaged to after a long conversation. When the girl announced their engagement, he claims she did it out of a desired state of mind, not because they were engaged. Laura began telling Jim about her glass menagerie collection when he inquires about her post-secondary plans. Her favorite animal is a little unicorn, which she exhibits him. In spite of Laura's clumsiness due to her damaged leg, Jim starts dancing with her as he hears the music coming from the dance hall across the lane. The miniature unicorn's horn breaks off when it falls to the floor after the pair accidentally stumbles into the menagerie table while dancing. Laura doesn't seem fazed by this, stating that the unicorn may now just be a horse like everyone else. In his dazed and remorseful state, Jim confesses to Laura that she is unlike anyone he has ever met before and kisses her. After he's done so, he instantly starts berating himself for it. Betty, an Irish girl, is Jim's current girlfriend. Laura is shocked, but she gathers her composure long enough to give Jim the shattered unicorn and ask that he keep it as a memento of their time together. Drinks are brought into the room by Amanda. Jim, who is still embarrassed, explains that he needs to leave and that he must meet his girlfriend at the railway station. Amanda bids him farewell, despite her disappointment that he has already found a new partner. Jim makes a hasty exit. Amanda accuses Tom of tricking them after he leaves. His employees are a mystery to Tom, he claims, and he has no idea what happened to Jim's engagement. He's getting ready to return to the cinema. For being a dreamer and selfish, Amanda yells at him and scolds him for it. She reminds him that given how much he clearly feels for his mother and sister, he might as well go all the way to the movies. Eventually, Tom makes his exit by slamming the door behind him. Outside, Tom delivers a final concluding monologue to the audience. Amanda can be seen in the apartment comforting Laura. Tom tells the audience that he was fired from the factory soon after this occurrence because he wrote a poem on the lid of a shoebox. After that, he decided to leave his family and embark on a lengthy journey in search of something he doesn't quite comprehend. However, he has since discovered that he is still haunted by his decision to abandon Laura. When he goes on a trip, he always finds a piece of glass with light beaming through it that reminds him of his sister, and he acknowledges as much. He returns to the present to watch her blow out her candles as she says her final goodbyes. Tom Wingfield is a shoe factory worker making minimum wage who aspires to be a poet. The story is conveyed through Tom's recollections because he is the protagonist and narrator of the play. Objective facts and fuzzy memories are the key themes of the drama. Even though he provides an outsider's perspective on the events taking place backstage, Tom is also actively involved with the situations, often in an emotionally immature manner. Because of Tom's erratic portrayal, it can be difficult to pin down his true personality. The character of Tom was created as a stand-in for Tennessee Williams, the author. His middle name is Thomas, and he was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, with a mother and sister who were both prone to emotional instability, and a father who was frequently absent. As a result, we can infer that Williams' own childhood memories are present. Despite this, Tom is a complex character. On the one hand, he's a fan of classic literature in poetic form. Assuming that his absent father has traveled the world, he is an artist who dreams of escaping a dreary existence and seeing the world. In spite of this, it appears that he feels compelled to care for his mother and sister for reasons that he does not reveal. In spite of Tom's apparent affection for his mother and sister, the play depicts him as cold and even nasty at times to them. In his final statement, he expresses his deep affection for Laura but also admits that he abandoned her without much thinking. The only time he seems to care about Laura's well-being is when he accidentally knocks over many of her figurines. Even so, he fails to express his regret. As a result, the nature of the bond between these individuals is still a mystery. Amanda Wingfield, the mother of Tom and Laura, is a former Southern belle who was formerly wed to an alcoholic and now makes most of her living from the salary of her son. Amanda is one of several disgraced Southern belle characters in Williams' plays who are unhappy in their new lower-class situation. However, despite the fact that Amanda's inability to let go of the past and move on from her past may make her appear to be a tragic figure, there is evidence to suggest that she has the work ethic to help her daughter find a marriage. As a result, Amanda appears to be more optimistic than Tom. Amanda, like her children, frequently retreats into a fantasy world as a means of escaping the realities of daily life. The only difference is that unlike her children, she does not openly proclaim it. Rather than living in the present, Amanda lives in the past as a rich Southern belle doted on by a slew of gentlemen callers. However, Amanda's persistent optimism and good humor in the face of her daughter's marriage to Jim's failure show that, despite her flaws, she is not intrinsically evil or bad. Laura Wingfield, Tom's sister, is a sweet, kind, and understanding young woman who is physically handicapped. Laura's tenderness is reflected in the glass menagerie, to which she devotes so much time and attention. Despite the fact that the play revolves around her, she is the only one with the fewest number of lines. A way to demonstrate her selflessness. If you shine the light through it, You can see through it, like a piece of glass that appears colorless until the light shines through it. Amanda assumes that she may recreate her debutante years through Laura, while Tom and Jim both assume that Laura is a vulnerable yet exotic species, entirely distinct from the rest of society. Laura, on the other hand, would be unable to spend the entire day in the streets, avoiding class. Despite the other characters' perspectives, Laura appears to have a will of her own and an inner spirit that never gets mentioned in the actual text. Jim O'Connor, a former classmate of Laura's from high school and a co-worker of Tom's in the shoe factory. Jim was an all-star athlete in high school and a popular member of the school community. Laura also has a crush on him. In a similar way to Tom, Jim is a difficult persona to nail down. He is hardly mentioned in all but 2 of the play's scenes, and he is absent from the majority of the plot. When Laura and Tom sit down to talk in the living room, Tom tells her that he plans to pursue a career in television production after struggling with depression following his high school success. He also seemed to have a great deal of affection for Laura during their talk. When he tells Laura to stop having such low self-esteem and start believing in herself more, he becomes a little emotional. Perhaps he wishes he could be with Laura instead of the girl to whom he is already committed. Consequently, Laura and Jim's brief love story has a poignant ending. Jim is a typically happy and easygoing person who, like Tom, is looking for a way out of his current situation. This implies that he does not want to allow his own feelings stand in the way of his aims. In the 20th century, Tennessee Williams, an American playwright, was widely recognized as one of the most important playwrights. Born in 1911 in Columbus, Mississippi, John Lanier Williams is the name given to Williams by his parents when they married. He grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. In 1938, he graduated from the University of Missouri and the University of Washington with a bachelor's degree in English. The Glass Menagerie's author labored as an odd job until 1945, when he appeared on Broadway as the author of the play. The New York Drama Critics Circle named this powerful memory drama the finest of the season. As the best-known American play of all time, A Streetcar Named Desire, 1947, earned Williams his first Pulitzer Prize for drama. It wasn't long before Cat on a Hot Tin Roof won him a Pulitzer Prize for fiction, 1954. Each of these plays features Williams' trademark poetic speech, symbolism, and unique characters. There is a unique fusion of sensuality and nostalgia, decadence, and sensuality in all of these stories because they are set in the American South. After William came out as gay in the 1930s, he became part of a select group of New York's gay intellectuals. In spite of his fame and acclaim, Williams was plagued by a drug and alcohol addiction and felt restless. As his fame waned in the 1960s and 1970s, he spiraled deeper into depression. After the death of his longtime boyfriend, Frank Merlo in 1963, Williams became depressed and went to a number of rehabs and treatment clinics. During this period, most of his plays were considered critical failures. In 1982, only 40 performances of his final piece, A House Not Meant to Stand, were staged. Williams, 71, was discovered dead in his New York hotel room in 1983. Initially, the coroner's report indicated that he choked on the cap of an eye drop bottle he had been using, but it was later altered to include that his extensive drug and alcohol misuse most likely contributed to his death by preventing him from releasing the gag reflex. Williams' surviving family members laid him to rest in a family plot in St. Louis. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.